Wow. Just came back from watching a movie that anyways, Ronan, let's get through the intro and let's get this rolling. Anyways, hello. Welcome everybody. My name is Ronan and this is Reels in the Round. There's a rectangular table in front of me. You can't see it, but trust me, rectangular table in front of me. Anyways, Kirk isn't with us this week, unfortunately. He is feeling a bit underneath the weather, and hopefully he gets better and he'll join us next week. But anyways, this week we watched BlacKkKlansman, and before we talk about it, let's talk about who's in it, who made it. Spike Lee, director, also made Malcolm X, Da 5 Bloods, Passover. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Charlie Watchell was the writer. He didn't really make much. I don't really know any of his other stuff, but Meat and Potatoes, The Tinsel Zone, Horror Haiku. John David Washington played a magnificent role. We'll talk more about him and his role, everything like that. Don't worry. Ron Stallworth. And you also may know him from Tenet. I haven't seen that personally, but I really wanted to. Malcolm and Marie, and he also co-produced The Book of Eli, which I've seen that movie, really good. Didn't know he co-produced it, but hey. Alec Baldwin, also in here, Dr. Kennebrew Benegard, and the Departed, Boss Baby. I didn't know about this, Tomic the Tank Engine. He's the narrator in that, apparently. Okay. And from what I personally know him from, Match Game. I don't know what that says about me, but hey. I don't watch it much anymore, but anyways, on to the next person, Adam Driver, which I loved in this film as well. We'll talk about his role, his character later on, but he played Flip Zimmerman. But I did, I was like, he looks familiar. He's Kylo Ren in Star Wars. Patterson as well. He was in that. And then David Duke, David Duke was played by Topher Grace. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. But anyways, he was Venom in Spider-Man, as we all know. He was also in that 70s show. Which one? I don't know, but that 70s show. We'll get to there later. He was also in Interstellar. And so I guess we can bring that up now. So that 70s show, this is a 70s movie. Coincidence? I think not. Anyways, this is based on a true story. Yes, based on a true story. But before I say the whole logistics and everything like that, let's get to the real basic synopsis, the 1 to 2 sentences about how this movie is. So, this movie, you follow this undercover cop that is African American, John David Washington, and he becomes part of I want to say part of a member of the KKK. That seems really crazy, but yeah, he just totally takes them down, and it's insane how it all unfolded. But let's go back to based on a true story. So Spike Lee, from my research, someone told Spike Lee that that Ron Stallworth, an African American detective, made it into the KKK. He was asked to join. So Spike Lee was just he did his research. That was all true. Everything about that was all true. And he was like, I'm going to make a movie about this. I need to show everyone about Ron Stallworth. So, I mean, hey, that's what he did. And he made a fantastic movie. Don't get me wrong. And, so fantastic that the actual Ron Stallworth, kind of like last week with Hidden Figures, that the Hidden Figures, watched the movie, gave it the stamp of approval. Ron Stallworth, I want to say that he, the actual Ron Stallworth, he had help. I want to say he helped out with the writing, and he was working with Spike Lee because I was reading about this. He wanted to get Denzel Washington to play him, but that didn't happen. It was John David Washington, which is Denzel Washington's son. He was ecstatic. Like Ron Stallworth was ecstatic that Denzel Washington's son was playing him. So, like with last week when we watched Hidden Figures, I'm not sure if the three girls, or like the three Hidden Figures, if they had any like option or like opinion on who they wanted to play them. But in this movie, Ron Stallworth basically chose John David Washington. No, I say basically because he wanted his dad, but he was still very ecstatic about who Spike Lee chose. So, yeah, based on a true story, there was some parts that, I mean, I still can't believe it was based on a true story, but there were some parts that were very dramaticized. I'm not sure what parts exactly, but there were some parts. I don't know if it was to make Ron Stallworth like that like more top notch, to show like who he really was, and like over dramatic him to show like the hyping it up. It may have been that. I have no clue, but I enjoyed it. And just like when we watched Bullet, there wasn't really much like sound or music in the background, but when there was sound or music, it was good. Perfect placement, everything. And another thing I want to add about the sound audio, phenomenal. So there was like some parts, kind of like how in the Unusual Suspects, if you haven't watched that movie, go ahead and watch it, but where like the audio doesn't match up to what is actually happening in the scene, if that makes sense. There was a lot of it in here too. Like, yeah, it was kind of confusing at times, but I knew, like, give it some time, I knew what was happening and everything like that. Another thing I want to talk about, oh man, so much to talk about, but like, oh man, like how, like, oh man, like how I wanted, like, like even like with Kirk last week with the Hidden Figures, how like he wanted, like, well, I mean, we both wanted so much of that to be true, but we have no clue if it was. That's kind of the same about this. It happens in the end, but when John Washington's character is on the phone with David Duke for the final time, it was amazing. But before we talk about that, I'm getting ahead of myself. I just want to talk about the ending. I mean, oh man, I like the ending too, cause, oh man, the hard part is I kind of see the ending in like multiple different endings could be the ending, because at the very end it showed like actual protests going on, like actual footage from protests, shows the date and where they took place, and things like that. That was the actual end, but I mean, oh man, like the last 20-30 minutes of the movie, I was like, oh man, that's a terrible ending. I don't want it to end like that. And I was like, yes, amazing ending, yes, someone who's boss. And I was like, that's a terrible ending, I don't like it. And I was like, yes, like it. No, don't like it. But oh man, it was beautiful. It was amazing. I do think everyone should watch it at least once. I'll probably watch it again at some point soon, but man, another thing I wanted to point out was, so yeah, talking about like how they use like actual footage from riots and things like that that's happening around, well, unfortunately around here in Virginia, hotspot. But like there's other parts in the movie that, like last week in Hidden Figures, it showed clips from like the 70s or like that time period, what was going on. I think it could have been mocked or remade, but man, so good. Yeah, with like one of the things I wanted to happen, like wanted to be true, was John Washington's phone call with David Duke and how he was just calling him out, like, because this whole time David Duke did not know that he was, well, getting spied on and everything like that, and just shot after shot after shot after shot after shot. Whew. It was incredible. But another thing I wanted to point out is on IMDb and like other places, this movie is actually considered a comedy. Now, let me be clear. I don't. Everyone's definition of a comedy may be different, but I mean, this movie, did make me chuckle a couple of times. I will not lie, especially that like phone call that I was talking about at the end. It did make me chuckle, but I would not call it a comedy, especially since it is about a serious topic, like it is. Like, it's no laughing matter, but like it did make me chuckle, but I wouldn't go so far as to call it a comedy. I don't really know what to call it, just not a comedy, if that makes sense. Because I feel like it's like too serious of a movie, which I know sometimes you want to have like the funny moments in the seriousness, which I get it, I like. I just don't think it deserves comedy. Like, And then another thing I want to start doing is I'm going to go on IMDb right now. I'm going to look at the actual rating that BlacKkKlansman got. I want to see if me personally, if I think it deserved that rating, better, worse, if it was fair. So IMDb gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now, 7.5 out of 10. I might say it maybe deserves a little bit more. Like, there's nothing I could see that would detricate it like so harshly. I would probably give it probably more like an 8.3 or so. I don't know. I'd have to, I would really have to think about that, but I would think that it would be higher than a 7.5. But like that whole movie just like what I was talking about, based on a true story. Because I mean, he wanted to be a cop. He went to university. Those things. I'm trying to put this in the nicest way possible, but for that time period, just blew my mind that he was able to do all that. Like, on like the first couple days while he was a cop. Like the first couple days after he became a cop, he asked if he could be an undercover cop, and what do you know? They said yes. Now I don't know if the timing was exact for like in real life, or if that's one of the things that they exaggerated, because it seemed like this whole movie took place in, I'd say, like a month or two, like from like start to finish. I feel like, especially if it was real life, it would be a lot more than like a month or two, maybe like a year-long event or so. But like, especially like the promotion to like an undercover cop. It's not like, I mean, sure, his first assignment was to go to a Black Panthers event, and I mean, he is black, but it's not like they asked him to be an undercover cop to go to that. Like, he's the one that asked to be an undercover cop. That's still blows my mind. Like, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but this time period still blows my mind. But yeah. So that's why I just don't know how exaggerated this is, because it seemed like the second day or like the first day he was there, he was like, I'm a police officer. Let me see if I can be an undercover cop. And then how he was able to get the get in touch with the KKK members, and how the police force let him do all that still just blows my mind. But hey, that's, I mean, I like how that one police officer that wasn't being that good around him, like, did get justice in the end. That's why I was like, yes. But then and then it sounded like the head officer, the head Chief Hedge. No, Chief Bridges, like, was gonna lay off all the people in the undercover cop, or in all the undercover cops that work on the case, and just close the case, not even zip nothing going to the public. I mean, it did not like that either. But and then right after that, it was the phone call. Yes, that's why the ending for me was just like, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. But all in all, I think it was a fantastic movie. I think everyone should watch it at least once. Like I said, I think it deserved more than a 7.5, probably more like an 8.3 or so, just because writing was fantastic, especially for John David Washington's character, and for Adam Driver's character. Everyone. I like the writing. Audio was fantastic. Visuals, camera movements, good. Another thing I will mention, since I just brought up camera movements, there was one part, it's not as much as in the Mothman Prophecies, where like the camera was like an actual character or player in this movie, or in that movie, but this movie, the camera wasn't really a character, but except for one scene where it, like, because of the camera movements, and I noticed this right away, but because of the camera movements, you can kind of infer what was happening. It's kind of foreshadowing. It's foreshadowing what's about to happen. I mean, I like that. It was good. I like the little foreshadow. I mean, the camera movement, they just said it like 15 seconds afterwards, so it wasn't that much of foreshadowing or that much of a secret or hidden for that long. But I liked it. It was when David Duke was in Colorado, and they were all in that like mansion or whatever you want to call it, doing their meeting, and Ron Stallworth's there being the undercover, well, not really undercover in this case, but being the bodyguard for David Duke, which another thing I did not think would ever happen. It's not like he asked to be the bodyguard of David Duke, but Chief Bridges, I believe, asked him to be the bodyguard for David Duke. And now back off my tangent of a tangent. Anyways, jeez, Kirk's not the only one that does that. Anyways, to get back on that tangent, Flip Zimmerman is there, and it's I forgot who exactly, but it was this character talking to Jasper Pakonen's character. Sorry if I mispronounced it, but yeah, it was this character talking to Jasper Packernen's character, where they're like, that person right there, that person is Ron Stallworth, and talking about how he's twinning and everything like that. And you can see the camera going back and forth between Ron Stallworth and Flip Zimmerman, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's not like 5 different back and forths. It's more like 2 or 3, but you get the idea. So that camera back and forth was kind of like foreshadowing what he was gonna say, as he was like, he is Ron Stallworth. They are both Ron Stallworth. And I mean, I just like that. I know the camera didn't play a character in this movie, but that one scene, I don't know if it's a he, but the camera person was kind of a character, but mostly foreshadowing. But yeah, other than that, like, fantastic sound. I think I already said that. Camera movement, writing, acting too. Acting was top notch. I mean, there's a part where, I mean, I don't know how this must have been, especially if it was a real cop. I don't know how undercover cops do it, but Adam Driver in this movie, whew, when he was doing the undercover cop, especially with like the lie detector part, where, because his character, Flip Zimmerman, he's Jewish, and well, something I didn't know until watching the movie, the KKK do not like the Jews, so they didn't want a Jewish person or anyone like that to be in the KKK, and since he was Jewish, he had to hide that and talk, well, down to himself, which, yeah, must have been hard for him. I don't know if he's Jewish, like outside of the movie, but that still must have been really, really hard. But yeah, fantastic cast. As I said, John David Washington, Alec Baldwin, Adam Driver, Topher Grace. Fantastic. Yep. I really liked this movie, really enjoyed it. And next week, let's see. So, next week, we're going to be watching 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And that's another fantastic movie. We'll watch it next week, talk about it. But basically, it's a, well, you guys go ahead and watch it. We're going to talk about it next week. I've been Ronan, and hopefully Kirk will join us next week. If he's feeling better, hopefully he will be. And yep, thanks for joining us in Reels in the Round. If you liked it and you're on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yep, if you're on Spotify or anywhere else just listening to us on audibly, then hit follow, whatever you do on there. All right, bye.